My son, I see you. I've always seen you. Even in those years when you felt invisible, I was watching you tenderly. In the moments when your soul was pouring out in silence, unnoticed by anyone, when you served without expecting applause, when you believed without seeing signs of reward, I was there. Every small yes you gave in private was treasured in my heart. Every hidden sacrifice, every time you chose obedience over comfort, surrender over certainty, and trust even when there was no evidence. I saw it all, and now I draw near to you not just to remind you of who I am, but to announce that something is about to change. You are about to be remembered, not because I ever forgot you, but because the time has come to release on earth what was stored in heaven for you. You've waited faithfully. You've endured what many never saw. You walked through seasons of silence, not because you lacked faith, but precisely because you had it. I entrusted you with that silence. I entrusted you with the task of remaining when nothing made sense. I entrusted you to keep walking even when no one understood the depth of the calling I placed on your life. And today, I say to you with a voice, soft but firm, I remember. I remember those nights you cried in solitude, but still chose to worship me. I remember those people you forgave without receiving an apology. I remember the gifts you gave when you barely had enough for yourself. I remember the hope you carried for others, while your own heart was breaking in pieces. I remember how you loved me, even when everything around you invited you to walk away. And I also remember the promises I spoke over you, even those you stopped saying out loud. You are not forgotten. You are not lost among the multitude of those I bless. You are not a secondary thought in my plan. You are the one I chose before you even knew how to say yes. Everything you thought was in vain has been delicately woven into a greater story. The long road was not the wrong road. The delay was not a rejection. The silence did not mean absence. I was building something in you deeper than you ever imagined. And now, the time of revelation is near. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because you remained faithful when no one else was watching. I want you to know that the waiting has accomplished far more than you realize. It didn't just prepare the promise, it prepared you. It shaped your spirit, refined your intentions, purified your voice. You no longer need validation from the wrong places. You no longer crave the approval of the wrong people. You've learned to be still. You've learned to be content. And because of that, I can now entrust you with more. More of my presence, more authority, more depth, more of the sacred weight of my glory. What I'm about to pour out on your life won't just be a simple miracle. It will be a proclamation. It will be heaven saying, I have seen you. I have marked you, and now I am honoring all you did in secret. Prepare your heart, not to return to what was, but to receive what was always mine to give to you. You are not returning to an old identity. You are stepping into the fullness of who I was, always forming in you. And with that fullness will come things you stopped asking for, doors you stopped knocking on, dreams you buried in silence, prayers you once held in your hands and then laid back at my feet. I have held them all, and I'm returning to them not to reopen wounds, but to release purpose. I do not forget covenants. I do not abandon the promises I made, and you are about to see what happens when I decide it's time to remember you. You'll feel it first in your spirit. That calm rising within, that clarity gently blooming, that whisper that says, something is changing, and you won't be mistaken. The shift has already begun. The oil I extracted from your hidden years is about to flow publicly, but it won't be for your glory. It will be for mine. Many will ask, "Where did this person come from?" And you will answer, "From the secret place." You won't need to defend your process. Your fruit will speak for you. The weight you carry will reveal the cost of your faithfulness, and I will vindicate you, not with wrath, but with honor. I will raise you up, not with pride, but with purpose. Because now I can trust you in ways I couldn't before, and you will carry what many admire, but few are willing to pay for. This is not a prize for surviving. It's a sacred appointment for remaining. I am the God who sees. I am the God who remembers. I am the God who never forgets a seed sown in faith, a tear shed in secret, a life surrendered in love. You, my beloved child, are about to be remembered. And what's coming will not only restore what you lost, but reveal who you've always been in me. Before I take you any further, I want to speak to you softly, with the sweetness that heals, about how I see you. Because there are still corners in your heart where wounds have whispered lies louder than the truth. You've grown, you've endured, you've remained. But there are silent thoughts that still look at your story through the lens of delay, disappointment, of what hasn't happened yet. And I need you to know this before everything begins to unfold. I don't see you through the lens of lack. I see you through the lens of love. I am not frustrated with your process. I am not distant until you get it right. I have never withdrawn my affection. I have never looked at you with disappointment. I know what you've believed about me, but now let me tell you what I believe about you. You are not forgotten, not by me, nor by heaven. Your name has been spoken in my presence again and again, not as a need, but as a delight. You thought silence meant disconnection, but the silence was my protection. You thought the delay was punishment, but it was divine precision. I kept you hidden, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were too valuable to be exposed before the right time. I saw the doors you wanted to walk through. I saw the platforms you thought you were ready for. But I needed your heart first. I needed your identity anchored in me, not in applause. I wanted you free before I gave you influence. I wanted you whole before I gave you visibility. I never withheld anything from cruelty, but from covenant. My love has always been more protective than permissive. And now, because your roots have grown deep, I can begin to build outward. You've been so hard on yourself, haven't you? You've measured your worth by your progress. You've tied your value to your productivity. You've judged your calling by the speed of your advancement. But I do not move by the systems of men. I am not limited by time or pressured by performance. I never looked at your pace and called it failure. I looked at your heart and called it faithful. Every time you came back to me in secret, every time you refused to harden your heart, every time you chose stillness over striving, I noticed. I never measured you by your output. I've been looking for intimacy, for trust, for humility, and I found them in you. I want you to begin to see yourself the way I see you, not just as someone with potential, but as someone prepared, not because everything is perfectly in place, but because your heart is surrendered. I can do more with that than with 1,000 talents running in the wrong direction. You've stayed close, you've been teachable, you've remained open, and now I call you back into alignment, not into performance, but into my presence. Return to me, not just as your provider, but as your home, the place where your identity is affirmed, where your voice is renewed, where you remember that being with me is the true miracle. I know how tired you are of holding on to hope in the dark. I know how hard it's been to keep walking without confirmation, to keep praying without seeing results. But your faith has spoken louder than your fear, even when you didn't notice. I've heard your trembling prayers. I've felt your uncertain steps, and I have counted them as precious. You never needed to be brave to be faithful. You only needed to keep saying yes, and you did. So today, I reaffirm your heart. You are not disqualified. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are loved, and you are being reintroduced, not just to others, but to yourself. Come, sit with me again. Let me tell you what I see. Let me remind you what I said before the noise came in. You've listened to many voices. You've carried the weight of too many expectations. But this is a reset. I'm calling you back, not as correction, but as a return home. Return to wonder, return to peace, return to joy that doesn't depend on outcomes. I will not only restore what you lost, I will restore who you were when you still believed with all your heart that you were chosen. Let me be your first voice again. Let me be your first place. Before the work, before the ministry, before the dream, return to me. Not to prove anything, not to beg for answers, just to be loved, just to be remembered, just to be in the presence of the one who never forgot you. You are about to be remembered, yes, but before the world is reminded of who you are, I want to remind you first. You are mine. You are ready. You are home, my beloved.